Well, it looks like we are right at the top of the hour. So, first off, just wanted to say hello. I know we've got a lot of repeat attendees as part of this series. We've been doing this series now, I think it's for probably just over a year, and almost every month, taking a new topic and building a mini workshop out of it and delivering it to CDW customers. A lot of it, too, based on your feedback. So, as a follow up to today's session, please don't hesitate to shoot us a note. Let us know what you thought of the content. But also, I'd love to hear about future content you'd like to hear. One thing I will note, keep an eye out for our March session. It's one of our most popular ones. There's a brand new release coming out, ServiceNow San Diego. We're going to cover that. And we do this thing kind of called our CDW's top 5 favorite things of the new build. We'll cover more than 5 usually, but we'll kind of do a countdown and share with you what we think might be the most compelling reasons to upgrade sooner rather than later. So thanks again, and a couple of housekeeping items, and we'll get right over to our speakers here. But first of all, there's a Q&A section on the right side. If you have questions at all during the session, just type them right in there. We might see them, right in line with the presentation and choose to answer them while we're going, or we'll hold them till the latter part of the session where we'll leave some time for Q&A. So on that note, real excited about this session. It steps away a little bit from kind of the traditional in the trenches IT stuff that we're doing and takes a step back and talks about business continuity. We'll talk about it from a ServiceNow perspective, but you'll also hear a fair amount of good practice and guidance and coaching around some things we're helping our clients better align to good practice around business continuity management. So with that, I'll introduce our speakers today and then turn the reins over to Josh. So today we've got Chris Gordon with us. He's part of our integrated risk management practice, and he'll be driving a fair amount of the content. And then of course Josh Sutton, who heads up our R&D team. So on that note, Josh, I'll pass the mic over to you.
Thanks, John. Appreciate the introduction. Chris, you can go to the next slide. So we're really covering what is business continuity. From a product perspective, this is relatively newer in the IRM suite. It came out last year, and we're trying to get more traction around it. We've been doing a lot of diligence around planning for the services and everything, and how we deliver. But really, what Chris is going to cover is an inside look into business continuity management and how you can leverage it now. It What is business continuity management? It's the ability to continue to deliver services and products. It's basically when things go wrong, right? There is a disruptive incident or a major outage, and it will allow you to continuously manage and improve your disaster recovery and business continuity plans. Gives you a consistent method to perform business impact analysis, enables you to recover quickly and perform DR training exercises, so you're not taking something down, but it assimilates it, and then activate a BCDR plan quickly in the event that there is truly a major outage, a crisis event, or a disruptive incident. So I'm going to toss it over to Chris to get into it. Again, to echo John, there's a Q&A section. Please add things in there, and we will answer them as we get time. Thanks so much. Chris, up to you.
Afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. We're talking about Business Continuity Day. I'm very excited about it. So thanks for hanging out with us. So what is business continuity, as Josh had mentioned? Think about this perspective. When there's a major outage and the SLA goal to resolve a priority one major incident has been far exceeded, or when all attempts to restore your service operation as quickly as possible have been completely exhausted. At what point are you going to declare a disaster and go into crisis management mode? Are you fully prepared to do that? Do you have the tools and processes in place to seamlessly go from major incident into recovery mode and get teams mobilized to follow the process? So business continuity management in ServiceNow gives you the framework you need to set up all the things you need to define in advance, build out the templates that you want to build out to cover the entire business continuity program for all the process actions that you need to stand up to manage your business continuity and disaster recovery. ServiceNow calls this business continuity management, but it also covers all things within your disaster recovery program as well. So, meeting the objectives for your business continuity management system really helps ensure that you've got a continuous cycle to keep improving over time. You never just build a plan once, exercise it once, and never improve on it. There's an accurate and consistent way to calculate impacts to your business. Think about the seem to be. You've got a business service in there, you've got a criticality level. You've never had the right level of context to do a full assessment against it and relate that to your business continuity program to what's in the seem to be. Now you'll have ability to do that. And then training exercises can be performed to the teams ahead of time so that they can prepare for an actual crisis event and be able to follow those plans right out of the gate. And remember, the number one rule that every disaster recovery expert lives by is it's not if a disaster happens, it's when. So, are we prepared for when the disaster hits us? Do we have the right things in place to make that happen as quickly as possible? So, building out business continuity management in ServiceNow ties into a continuous improvement cycle in their framework. So it's a 6-step cycle going from step one, planning at the strategic level. What kind of templates snap into the program that we need to set up? We're going to configure those templates ahead of time. Then bottom right, step 2, we're going to start performing our BIAs or business impact analysis assessments, and the output of those BIAs will determine our recovery time objectives, our RTOs, and our RPOs, our recovery point objectives. Now we can associate recovery times to the different services and systems that are most important to us. Step 3, right side middle, we're going to start building out our designs for the different plans that fall into our program. Do we need to build business continuity documentation plans? Do we need to build disaster recovery documentation plans, or other things like escalations, call tree notifications, communication plans for crisis events, legal or, any other kind of public facing communications? Do all those fall into our documentations that we build out within the system here? Top right, step 4, we implement the plans. We go through a process to vet, review, approve, and sign off that these plans are good to go. Now that these plans are ready, let's actually put them to the test. Bottom left, we're going to exercise and test our plans so that we can prepare ourselves for a disaster. Let's do actual tabletop exercises or simulations and provide the right level of training to the recovery teams, to the service desk, anyone that needs to help be involved in our recovery. Let's get them involved in our testing. Let's use the BCM app to plan and coordinate and get the results from that. Where we get those results, we can do continuous improvement. So step 6, we're going to do sustain and maintain. Continuously evaluate the performance of our actual events and how well we did to recover in a timely manner, or from our output of our training and testing exercises, we're going to learn some lessons from it, and we start back at step 1 again and go through the framework all over again, a continuous cycle over and over. Fun stuff. So building this out in the ServiceNow platform, how do we build it out? So I'll bring up 3 different areas of concentration that you need to keep in the back of your mind: design, user interface, and process. So from these perspectives, let's try to figure out how we would build this out in ServiceNow. And hopefully it's not too intimidating at all. From a design perspective, there's really 3 things you need to focus on. Again, this is the legwork you have to do to stand up the practice area before you can start enabling people to use it. So first, you have to come up with your strategy around business impact analysis. What areas of my organization need to fall into that? And how many different templates do I need to design? You see the middle box called elements. Elements are what is in your organization that would fall into your DR and BC plan, your program. So, what in the CMDB or what have we in our organization that needs to snap into our BIA process and to our documentation plot process for documenting the plans. So elements are not configuration items or assets in the CMDB, but when you create a unique element record, it does point and dot walk to what you have defined in the CMDB. And I'll show you in a little bit what that looks like in the BC app. And then on the right side, plan templates. When we go to document different plans, do we need a business continuity template? Do we need a disaster recovery template? Do we need any other documentation templates like communication plans, escalation plans, call tree notification plans? Whatever is important to you, you build out different templates for each one of those and start identifying what sections are needed within each template. All right, so those are really the things you have to set up, and I'll delve into that a little bit deeper here in a moment. The second part is the user interface. Most of you work in ServiceNow on a day-to-day basis. You're in the ServiceNow console. A new concept to ServiceNow in the last couple of years has been emphasis on those brand new workspaces. It's a brand new user interface. It's got a sleek look and feel to it that's very intuitive. It's got nicely formatted content. And for business continuity, you have your own dedicated business continuity workspace. It's really designed so that the person who's going to own and manage and administrate business continuity can do all the things they need to do. And then where they go to delegate those action items out to business owners to go complete business impact analysis assessments or document plans, the business owners, can go log into the workspace and do their job as well. From a process perspective, again, where we built the BIA templates, we're going to start kicking off our processes for doing business impact analysis, filling out pieces of data. When we finish filling out those items and submit it for approval, it's going to calculate for us our recovery time objectives, our recovery point objective, and our recovery tier. How important to the organization is this system? Then we're going to start documenting and giving action items to document our business continuity, and our disaster recovery plans go through the motions of reviewing and approving and publishing those. Another cool feature in ServiceNow is when you finish documenting those sections in ServiceNow, you can generate a PDF report, and I'll show you what that looks like. And then last, we have a process called crisis management. And that's triggered from the workspace in the business continuity workspace. The idea behind that is once we've published our plans, do we need to create a crisis event that is an exercise where we can do training and awareness on the process and the recovery plans? Or do we go into full-blown disaster mode and create an actual crisis event and then activate those plans and get people mobilized to the workspace to start following the plan and doing their homework? So that's what it looks like, what conceptually. Now let's figure out what some of the most common questions we get from some of our customers when we're talking to them about business continuity. See if they resonate with you. One question we get a lot is there a recommended best practice to follow for building these business continuity disaster recovery plans? Is there an industry good practice? I would point you to one of two different good practices to research if you aren't following them already. The first would be from NIST 800-34. That is contingency planning for information systems. It really was designed so that any customer doing work with the federal government would follow their requirements for business continuity. So NIST 800-34, go Google that and look that up. And then another one would be the International Standards Organization, ISO 22301, is business continuity for high performing business management systems. Another good practice around what I would document in our business continuity plan, different sections and different pieces of information I would want to capture. Another question we get is, does the CMDB in our ServiceNow tool tie into business continuity? And the answer is heck yes, most certainly. from where we identify what elements in our organization snap into the program, we're pointing back to the different CI classes and the elements inside of those classes. Where we're conducting a business impact assessment, we're trying to calculate a recovery time objective against different hardware, software assets, different applications, different dependencies between those assets. So if we have information that seem to be that tells us what the dependencies are, we can see that data and use that in our judgment to fill out the BIA. And then when we're performing recovery steps and activating teams to follow the plan, it's going to point them back to the asset in the CMDB that it comes from with the instructions in your BC plan. So yeah, a lot of interaction with the CMDB. Another question, Everbridge Crisis Communication is a vendor product out there. It has really good templates for notifications that you can use. People have asked, can we use Everbridge with business continuity and ServiceNow? As of the Rome release, the answer is yes. There is a native plugin now with ServiceNow that gives you the ability to connect your Everbridge Crisis Communication app directly into your business continuity app and bring all the data elements from Crisis Communication into your ServiceNow business continuity system. So good stuff there, right? All right, so let's get into
Chris, before we move on, there are some questions that came in. So because
cool.
you're on frequently asked questions, I figured I'd pop in and say some of them really quick. So one of the first ones that came in was, how does the BCM tool address new requirements of operational resilience? And I'll answer from my perspective, then Chris, if you want to add any flavor to that. Within the ServiceNow IRM suite of products, Operation Resilience is a additional product that you would configure things. But what Operational Resilience does is it takes the information that BCM and the components of BCM, and it adds it to your overall monitoring within Operational Resilience. So your impact analysis and things like that, it will add it to the monitoring in your full stack of the Operational Resilience.
Yeah.
Anything to add to that, Chris?
I mean, I'd agree. Business, continuity does not have a direct relationship with operational resilience, but that to me would be a good way to do the operational resilience assessment first, and then decide, at the strategic level, do I need to build new templates for business impact analysis or for new documentation plans? Out of the box, there's no segue, warm handoff from operational resilience into BCM. But also be advised, BCM's a version 1 product that just came out a year ago. So more new enhancements are on the way.
Absolutely. Another one we had was leveraging service mapping for building DR plans. And basically what you have within service mapping is the CI relationships that you can add to dependency groups or utilize dependency groups while assessing business impact, and which assets that of risk you are identifying there. There is actually, on the ServiceNow doc sites, there is a full write-up of the intersection between service mapping and business continuity management.
Yeah, absolutely.
The last question we had was, we're in the beginning phases of building the CMDB. What's best practices? So while CMDB is utilized by business continuity, your question is very appropriate based on the fact that you want to make sure that when you're starting it, or if you're looking to redesign the CMDB, you're setting it up within the right classes and all of that. So we've done many webinars, and they are offered on video to be able to look at again. But essentially, CSDM, that's the key, is following that common services data model, populating the appropriate classes, and then based on the attributes within those classes, there may be gaps in being able to tie, RTO, RPO, but business criticality is definitely associated within the CMDB from a business application and from a server class standpoint. So having that data at the start of when you're populating your CMDB, obviously all of that is manual data. You can't get that from somewhere like Discovery or something like that. So having processes in place to ensure that you're maintaining that, but also populating at the start is very key to be able to leverage those attributes while you're building out your business impact analysis and your DR planning.
Love it.
All right.
Good questions. I love the great questions. Thanks
Absolutely.
for interacting with us. All right, so let's go and drill in a little bit more and give you more details on if you're going to take this app and start using it in ServiceNow, what do I need to do to build it out? So first part of this demonstration, I'm going to show you from within the ServiceNow console, the different things I have to do. So in the design mode, what are the different templates, the different sections in those templates, and what kind of homework am I expected to do ahead of time to build out this program? So there's a BIA template, a BC plan template area, and then general administration. Those are the three areas of concentration to set up the system and then start using it for your processes. So I've toggled over to my ServiceNow instance and I'm logged in as kind of the program manager, the person who oversees the whole business continuity app. If you look on the left nav, I've got a favorite saved just with my business continuity application in it. And you'll see different sections on the left side of the navigation here, starting with the first link, business continuity workspace. We'll drill into that in a little bit. Below that, we have business impact analysis, planning, and crisis management. Those are the actual process areas. And again, we're going to show you that from the workspace UI, but from the ServiceNow console, underneath those, you have BIA configuration, plan configuration, and general administration. Those are the areas that you need to build out your templates and things. And then the last two links on the bottom, if you have Everbridge and you want to do that plugin, there will be two new sections at the bottom of your BC app for the notification configuration, your notification templates, call trees, and things like that, and your contact lists under contact configuration. So good stuff there. So for BIA configuration, I'm going to click on that and drill into it. You'll see there's a section underneath it called BIA templates. So let's take a quick look at the BIA template section. Under BIA templates is where you decide as an organization how many different flavors of business impact analysis do I need to perform, and against what in my organization would I apply that template to. So you can see I've got 4 different flavors here, one around an application impact assessment, business process, data center, and workplace. And if you look at the column on the far right, primary element assessed, that's what in my organization does that template apply against. So you can see we have different elements for applications, business processes, data centers, and different locations. Each one of those elements has its own separate BIA template. So let's drill into one of those templates for business process impact assessment. We drill into that record and you'll see the name, the description, what primary element is being assessed. And then below that, I have a couple of different sections, impact categories. And if I expand that out, I would add the different areas of impact assessment that I would perform in this particular template: a legal impact, regulatory impact, reputation impact, revenue impact, and so on. Under dependency assessments, again, I need to understand from the CMDB where are the dependencies, can I leverage that information, and where does that fall into my assessment template. So I'm going to do a dependency assessment against applications, hardware, software, and other areas. If you wanted to select other primary elements, you have to kind of define those. So if I hit the spyglass icon under primary element, I'll give you kind of a look at different types of elements that you would consider putting into your program here: applications, business processes, critical business services, data centers, hardware, servers. What would snap into your program for doing business impact analysis assessments? These are the element definitions you would set up in advance and start tying them to your templates. Make sense? All right. So let's say we filled out all of our business impact analysis template sections that we want to define. Now we're going to go to plan configuration on the left nav, and I hit plan configuration, and there's a section for plan templates. And again, how many different types of business continuity or disaster recovery or other types of documentation plans do I want to build out in my program? You'll see, again, far right column, primary element recovered, shows the different element areas, and there's different plans that snap into each one of those elements. So there's an application disaster recovery plan, a business continuity plan, data center recovery plan. There's one for the NIST business continuity plan for NIST 834, and workplace recovery plan. We drill into one of those records. You'll see, again, the name, the description, what is the primary element, business processes, and then plan authoring type is currently set to all. What that implies is below plan authoring, there's a document section requirement, loss scenario requirement, and group recovery tasks by grouping by assignment group. Do all those three apply to this particular template, or do I just want to pick one of these sections? Just the document section, just the loss section. So if I hit the plan authoring type, you'll see I've got options to just bring in just the documentation sections, or just the loss scenarios, or just the recovery tasks, or I can bring in all three of those areas into my template. Okay. Excuse me. So next, we're going to check out on the left nav general administration. There's a few more things that you need to fill out to get the program going. We expand out general administration. We have a bunch of different sections for impact categories that I have pulled up that show you legal impact, regulatory impact, reputation impact, and so on. So you have to define the different impact category levels and associated recovery time frames tied to each one of those. And again, those are different sections you would fill out when you're doing a BIA. Documentation sections, we click on that, and this is if we're going to document a DR or a BC plan, what sections do I need to define within those plans? So you can see I have a listing here, and if you look at the name column on the kind of middle right side, I have two different sections. Section 1 with sections 1A, B, C, D, E, F, and section 2 for continuity plan development, section 2, A, B, C, D, E. Those sections that you see there are actually the ones that are defined as part of that NIST 834 framework if you want to use that. So I put them in my instance, and I'm using those for our documentation sections. So again, you'd put all the predefined verbiage or instructions that someone would use to fill out each section. When you fill out each section, you mark them complete. One thing to note here, where we show this to customers, they're like, well, we've already documented our DR plan in a Microsoft Word document. Where's the button to import that? Well, that's not present in this version of business continuity. There is not, like from a knowledge import ability to bring in a Word doc where you can just, bring in a Word doc from Microsoft. You have to basically define your documentation sections. And then if you have written them in Word, you're going to have to probably cut and then paste those into these different documentation sections. Sounds like an administrative nightmare, but the end result of this is ServiceNow will document this in a very nicely formatted document that gets saved as a PDF, stored in the ServiceNow instance on the cloud, and you can access that from ServiceNow anywhere. So that's the benefit, is no longer do you need to save your Word doc and save it on a flash drive and attach it to the lanyard around your neck and carry it on your person at all times. Now your plans can be stored in the cloud on ServiceNow, and we can generate the output of those reports very consistently and use it anytime, anywhere. Right? All right, general administration on the left nav, recovery tiers. This is another important step. where you can see different recovery tiers: business critical, mission critical, essential, non-essential, and then you have to type in your different recovery time objectives for each recovery tier that's used in our final calculation. So we'll try to speed up here. Also, there's a section for loss scenarios, and I won't bore you with that. So this is all the boring administrative stuff you have to set up. Now let's switch gears and let's start building it out in the actual business continuity workspace and see what that looks like, and see our day in the life of the person who's going to kind of administrate the whole system, the BC program manager, from their point of view, right? So DR program manager, they want to do things like review all the business impact analysis action items out there. Where are the plans needed for our BC plans? What things require action? What kind of DR exercises do we have out there? Can I look at a finished DR plan in a PDF format? Let's take a look at this new thing called Crisis Map and see what that's all about. So logging into the ServiceNow instance, we're back at the console. You can see business continuity. I'm going to click on that very first link and we're going to drill into the workspace itself. Again, the workspace, brand new UI from ServiceNow. ServiceNow is going through the motion of building out workspaces for pretty much every process area you can imagine in ServiceNow. With BCM, there's one already built, which is great. So kind of basic navigation, top left corner, you'll see 3 different icons. There's a home screen, which gives us all of our dashboard views. Below that is a list view option where I can see all the different records and the status of those records in the list view. And then below that is that kind of map view, and that drives us to the crisis map area of BCM. All right, so if we look at the top section here, business impact analysis overview, where we're delegating different BIAs that need to be documented. As the owner of the program, I can see I have 27 different business processes that need plans. 23 of those have not been started yet. 4 are in progress. 1 has been fully assessed and approved. And then there's on the far right under happening now, I can see if there's any that are overdue, or I can see the ones in progress by status. All right. Then if I scroll down a little bit, I'm going to see on the top here results. So I can see by different business units or departments in my organization, what is the criticality of their business impact analysis, and see that in a stacked bar chart. On the right side, I have a section for action required. As the program manager, what do I have in my queue that I need to work on today? Looks like I have a BIA that is in review. I'm going to have to peer review that one. And then there's a BIA for account review and reinstatement that's waiting on my approval. Below that, we have the business continuity plan overview, and I can see that there's 10 different departments participating in our BC program. 4 of them still need a plan. 5 of them are in progress being worked on. 2 of them are fully approved and have a plan. None on the far right side are expired. So that's good to see. Now let's explore and go a little bit deeper beyond the dashboards. I'm going to go on the left side, top left, where that list view is. And we're going to see, similar to the ServiceNow console, you can see a list view of things. To me, this is a much cleaner, intuitive view, more space. I can see things very clearly, and I have my list broken out by the BIA area, planning, documentation area, exercises, where we're doing training, and then crisis events, actual real-time things going on. So if I click on the business impact analysis, I can see the different sections in there. I have by different state, in draft, review approved. I'm looking at just my approved ones right now, and I can see several different approved ones. I'm curious about the FIS Teller Insight one, and I'm going to click on that one, and let's take a closer look at the record inside of the workspace. Again, we're drilling into a record in the workspace. Totally different look and feel than like from looking at a record in the ServiceNow console. In the details section, I can see the name of the application. what business unit and department are associated to it, who's the owner of that, business service or application, and what state it's in. It's approved. There's a little tagging icon if I want to add my own unique tags to it. On the top right, there's different buttons that I can use to take action, similar to like a form in ServiceNow. And then below that, in the details, we have a nice formatted sections for impact assessment result, where this is an approved BIA. I can see our recovery point objective has been calculated and is set for immediately. And again, that's based on finishing your assessment and filling out the data points, and then the system calculates that RPO for you. Then we have next to it recovery time objective. It's set for 4 hours, but where I have an RPO of immediate, I felt like I need to adjust it. So there is an option for you to take the calculated value and override it and adjust it to what you feel is more appropriate. So you can see I adjusted it from 4 hours to immediate. Based on the RPO of immediate and RTO of immediate, ServiceNow calculates your recovery tier that we saw in the administration section, and it's going to label this as mission critical. Now we can do a BIA for anything important in your organization and know exactly if it's mission critical, business critical, or something that's a little underneath that, and see exactly what is the expectation of how much time do we need to recover it. If you
Hey,
see the
Chris, I'm going to
greens,
jump in with a question
sure.
really quick. So regarding major incident capabilities, the native to ServiceNow, we had a question that asked, how easy is it to integrate into BCM? So for DR and BC, providing visibility of major incidents resulted in a DR, and major incidents went beyond recovery objectives but didn't result in a
Yeah,
DR event.
love the question. So from these different assets in the system, you can trigger a change or an incident. But conversely, where we have a major incident and we want to go from the incident record into crisis management mode, there is no out of the box transition that's clearly built. And I think it's because of the workspaces. Imagine you're working in the console of a incident record and not from the workspace view. How can you transition from a ServiceNow record to a workspace record? I think is the challenge ServiceNow has. So out of the box, there is no direct, seamless, create a related record from an incident, a P1 incident, to a crisis event. I'm guessing that that's going to be a future enhancement. To me, it's a must-have. Awesome
Absolutely.
question.
And then the last one
Totally
we
answer.
had so far was, how are teams identified and managed?
So part of your BC plan or your DR plan is you identify recovery teams and different associates on those teams, and then you create your recovery tasks assigned to those teams. Same way you assign different things in the different process areas of ServiceNow. Then when you activate the plan, you mobilize those teams and you sequentially kick off your sequence of assigned tasks for the recovery tasks. Hopefully that answers your question.
Thanks, Chris.
Sure. All right, so we can see the colored circles. There's different sections I need to fill out. As I'm progressively filling those out, it's going to transition to color. When it's a solid green, it means I've completed all those sections. So it's a nice visual indicator to me on where I'm at and documenting things. If I close this kind of display or detail section out with this little acorn, I'm going to see different tabs here for our RTO section, our PO section, and I can see under RTO for recovery time, I have different impact assessments I have to do for workforce, revenue impact, legal. There are going to be different things I need to fill out. So if I expand one of those for workforce, you'll see that there's different questions I have to fill out responses to for low rating and high rating. And, for like a business owner, they're going to fill out the disruption field and say, how many hours would we say is the estimated time for a low impact? What is the estimated time for high impact? And you fill out those values and then you hit the complete button and that marks that section complete. So you fill out all the sections for your RTO impact assessment area. Then you go on the RTRPO impact assessment, and you start filling out the section for data value, data change frequency. I won't bore you with those details. We'll click on the dependency assessment tab, and there's different assessments I have to do for our dependencies. And again, you define that as part of your BIA template. For applications, we have to do a data center and computer room dependencies, Windows and Linux server dependencies, vendors, hardware, and other things that are important for doing dependency mapping. That data comes from the SeemDB. If you've done your service mapping homework, that can be displayed in there. All you have to do is start plugging in what is dependent from one system to another and what is the RTO associated to those. And again, you mark each one of those sections that you have listed here as complete, and you can see all those sections are complete. So this is a fully approved, fully documented BIA, and all the sections are in here. I can historically see all that. I can see attachments if there's anything else in here. So we'll go back to the list view here. Under DR or BC exercises, which ones are pending, which ones are in progress. I see we have 4 training exercises for our plans in progress. I'm curious to learn and see what's going on within one of those. So I'll select the top one, annual failover exercise assigned to Allison. We drill into that record and we can see different things. It's a low priority, it's in progress. Under event, I see the description says annual failover. It's in progress. And if you see under event, there's event type and it says exercise. So again, you can define an event type and an event type kind of category. Is this a failover exercise? Is this a walkthrough? Or is this some kind of simulation or tabletop exercise? And so you can literally schedule and plan these in advance. A lot of times DR coordinators need to plan out the whole year's worth of DR exercises you're going to do each quarter. You can now plan those out and schedule them in advance and start preparing for that and having visibility of what's on your radar for this quarter. Then you can kick off those exercises, and you can see in the middle column there's a BCM annual failover exercise PDF where you've documented the DR or BC plan. It attaches within this record. Otherwise, you can take the data that you've produced and hit the generate PDF button. And when you hit that, it says, do you want to download this? So we're going to pull this up, and I'm going to open up my record. Now, the demo data in ServiceNow is kind of crappy, but you'll get the point here. The idea is the PDF pulls up with your nicely formatted documentation sections that you've filled out step by step. This is a failover exercise, so the formatted report actually shows us kind of an agenda of the event, general information, scope, results. Below that, we drill into the different sections of our recovery plan and the different activities or action items that the recovery teams are going to follow. And there's step by step, blow by blow, all the instructions needed to perform the failover event. Days have passed where one person has one version of a DR document, someone has a different version, someone doesn't have it at all, and they're trying to find it. Doesn't happen anymore. You've got it all centralized in ServiceNow. It's nicely compartmentalized, and it's easy to reference. Top right, you can download this to your device. If you're on a smartphone or a tablet or your computer, or you can hit print and burn a few trees down and print out the 500-page document if you're so inclined. All right, so I'll close out of this, and there's kind of one more area to show you with the limited time that we have here. So this on the left nav is our link to the crisis map. Whoa, look at this. We have this cool looking map. What is that? Well, that looks like Google Maps. Well, absolutely. There is a plugin in your ServiceNow instance that your ServiceNow admin would need to do and subscribe to your Google Map API. Once you configure that and set it up, then your Google Map loads in your crisis map. The second part of building this out is saying, well, what type of alerts do I want to show in here? So you would subscribe to different feeds. In this view that we're looking right now, there's two different data feeds that are coming in. One's from what's called GDAC, the Global Disaster Alert and Coordination System. And if you go on the GDAC website, you'll see almost identical information of those colored circles of different live weather events that are occurring. And then there's another feed coming in from weather.gov with their severe weather alerts and any other important, data feeds that you want to bring into your crisis map. You can configure and set those up. On the left side, we have different listings of things where I can see volcanic eruption, drought, flood warnings, and so on. But I want to drill into the area where my organization has our office location. So United States, you can drill into that, and you scroll into it with your mouse, and I can see geographically across the United States where I've started documenting all my plans. Guess what? We also know the geo of those, know the exact location of them on our Google map, and you can see the numbers associated with these little black geolocators is the number of locations that are in that geographical area. And then these colored circles are the actual weather alert advisories that are coming in. So I see in the United States this kind of southeast area in the Louisiana, Arkansas area that looks like there's a bunch of weather events going on there. And it's kind of showing me on the list view on the left. So I'm very curious about those, and it looks like it could be potentially impacting my locations. So I'll click on that first flood warning issue, and I'm going to drill into that record. And when I drill into that flood warning, it gives me some information on the left. This is a flood warning. The urgency is immediate, which means it's happening right now. Severity is level 2 severe. And then if you look on the Google map, it shows you a shaded red area of where is this flood warning actually happening. And I see I have 3 different geos associated to my company's locations that are impacted. There's 5 locations in that flood warning area. That's all my company, areas. So that's not good. So what can I do? I can go under assets at risk and drill into those and learn more about the specific assets at those locations if I need to. I can create response tasks on the fly and generate those. Or you can see under suggested actions, I've got a couple of options to notify stakeholders or actually declare a crisis event. Going back to that earlier question, how do I declare a disaster? You pretty much have to declare it from within the workspace app of BC. I cannot declare it from an incident record, which is a miss in my part. I would hope to see that as a future enhancement. But still, nevertheless, in my crisis map, cool stuff here. Notify stakeholders. That seems the next appropriate action for me. I want to get people who are working at those locations to leave work immediately and get to a safe place. So I'm going to create a notification template and send a notification to our stakeholders, draft the email. And again, you can build templates. If you have Everbridge, Everbridge has its own collection and library of notification templates that you can pull into your crisis notification here. So in this case, I'm going to ask folks to head home and evacuate. That's kind of step 1 for me. And then I'll hit send notification, and it tells me that I've completed that action. It's going to kind of keep track of it historically, almost like an action log in the response tasks that we've done that. If I need to declare a crisis event, I can do it from the crisis map view that I'm in right now, or I can go back to my home screen of my BIA workspace and initiate declare a crisis event there, or I can pull up the actual locations and declare it from those records if I need to as well. So that's kind of, with the time that we had for our demo today, I know we could have drilled into a bunch of other things, but we only had a limited time here. So that is what I had to share with you for today. From a benefits perspective, if we were going to justify investing in this and bring it into our organization, what can we expect out of it? You can build really clean looking records that are saved as a beautiful PDF record, nicely formatted, very consistent. So the days of people having 2 different or 3 different flavors of Word docs, you can now clean that up. You have a nice UI user interface for the workspace that is very clean, very intuitive, very easy to cross train others. Now you can bring in the folks in the business who are your business owners that need to participate in the process. They'll have full visibility and ease of use to find what is being delegated and assigned to them to complete. And then the program manager has everything at their fingertips to manage the program very cleanly from that workspace view and trigger that. CMDB has all the data you need to bring into these different areas. So anything application, service, asset that you're doing a dependency mapping to, that you're doing an impact analysis to come up with your RTO values, brings in data from the CMDB. It's a perfect marriage of all that. And then you've got this incredible feature, this nifty little crisis map, which probably none of us have ever seen or used before. Now it's at our fingertips. Do we want to use that? Is it important to us? Who knows? It looks cool. It's going to make me look cool when I'm showing it to my boss. So, wow, lots of cool stuff. So, that's all I pretty much had. Kind of a closing remark here. My call to action to you would be, I hope you were inspired by what you saw in this little short demo today. If you want a longer demo, please contact us. I'd be happy to do a longer demo and drill into more things. But I'd like to see where you're thinking, does this BCM app tie into your future roadmap? And is it something that you want to start working with in the near future? So, call to action. Thank you so
Uh,
much.
Chris, just to reiterate Chris's call to action, we just posted a link in uh, the chat, and that's a registration link to get more information, connect with us on the BCM. But we also had a few other questions come through. If you, we do have a little bit of time, so let's get into those if you're willing, Chris.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So the first one we got is, does the tool recognize RTO gaps between application dependencies? The example proposed was application A has an RTO of 6, and dependency app actually has a RTO of 24 hours.
Yep. What ServiceNow does there is it looks at all the things that you've set and calculated. Whichever one has the shortest recovery time is where it's going to calculate the final RTO or RPO against it. So if you set 1 to 4 hours, 1 to 8 hours, 1 to 12 hours, it's going to say, well, 4 hours is what we're going to set the RTO to because that's the most important one. Is that hopefully that answers your question?
Yeah, it does for me, but I didn't ask, but we'll take care of it. All right, next one. Do the developed DR and BC plans tie to the ServiceNow trouble ticket system so that the response assignees, assignments, tasks, and time to resolution can be tracked?
Ah, so the recovery plan, you activate it in crisis management and you delegate those tasks out. People will see their task, mark it completed, and you will be able to see kind of if we have a 4 hour or 8 hour recovery time, we can see how quickly we're recovering those tasks. Are there hard SLAs in them like you would see in an incident? Not really. You're kind of gauging the completion of those tasks based on, actual time of closing those tasks out. Could they improve on that? Put harder SLAs in there, I suppose. You got to remember you're in full recovery mode. So, playing around with an SLA and getting warning notifications is not necessary because you are already in a sinking ship and we're already mobilizing, right? So I think
And,
that's why
and I
they
think
probably
that
left out hard SLAs.
absolutely, and SLA is based on the system, right? Uh, uh, Somebody that it was is attending pointed out that SLAs in business continuity or DR they don't exist. It's a RTO RPO, right?
Best effort.
And yep, exactly. So that's
Ship is
really
sinking.
where it
Hurry.
works on it. Yeah, absolutely.
Drop what you're doing and get on the bridge, Kyle.
Yeah. Another question we had, is there any other notification integrations like HyperReach, et cetera?
Hmm.
At this point, I don't think there's any out of the box. Could they be developed? Could there be more coming? Absolutely. Again, we're looking at version 1.0 of BCM, and more to come as they
I'm
get into it.
surprised ServiceNow built the Everbridge one, but I know
Yeah,
some of the customers we do regular business with, they stomped their foot down and insisted, and they became one of the earliest adopters of it. And I think ServiceNow had to listen to them. So if you're
absolutely.
loud and you talk very loud to ServiceNow about that, maybe they'll build that as a plugin for you.
Another plug would be to the ServiceNow community pages. They have enhancement ideas and things like that. Uh, though that is a major point for the product teams within ServiceNow to be leveraging. And the more upvotes it gets, so get your, your friends, your colleagues, your peers, whatever the case may be, to upvote those, and it gets higher in the scale and visibility for ServiceNow. We have a couple minutes left, a couple more questions. Um, the age-old question: how much does a module cost to add this? And it's really based on your agreement with ServiceNow. We typically do not talk pricing because that's set by ServiceNow and your negotiated rates and your contracts. But to get a straight answer, either work with CDW if we hold your licensing or you'd like us to, or directly with your ServiceNow account reps and solution consultants, and they can get you the costing on what it would
One thing
add.
to
It
mention
is a
there,
separate
Josh,
cost.
one thing to mention, there is two separate, two license costs associated with business continuity. There's standard and professional. If
Right.
you really like that crisis map feature, that's professional and it's licensed a little bit better, a little bit more expensive.
And to that topic, somebody just asked, how is it licensed? And it aligns to the current IRM licensing, where you're basically licensed your entire organization. Depending on the tier that you go with, that determines the base price of per node or per person. And then the last one: will it work without the CMDB and other modules? I
Ah,
think that the other modules is a loaded question here, because yeah, sure, we could standalone IRM and all the components and suites or suite products within it. But the real value you get is when you have like things like the CMDB, your business applications, location data, company data, all of that type of thing. But will it work without it, Chris?
it can, and when you do your dependency assessment and your BIAs, it'll show you that it did come from the CMDB. Otherwise, you can build that as part of your template and just freeform type it in if you know it. That's the big question: is would your business owners know that information off the top of their head?
Right. So I had somebody post in the chat if we could um, type best practice resources. What I'm just going to do is I'm going to throw in the link to the San Diego um, doc site for ServiceNow. That'll get you there. And then, as stated in um, from Latanya, she posted our call to action, which is if you want to hear more, talk to us about business continuity management. You can click on that link as well. Chris just typed in the templates that he commented on, but here is also the link to the ServiceNow, most recent ServiceNow doc site. That is the business continuity management page for the San Diego release. So it hasn't come out yet, but you can also see some of the new features. And on that note, we are doing a top 5, as John stated earlier. That is March 18th. We're consistent on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Central. So sticking with that. We will be doing the San Diego top 5, and who knows, business continuity management features may be part of that. Regardless, we do list a few of the other features that we found notable, but that we don't go into in depth. So join us next month as we do that. Thank you all for joining. Chris, thank you for the great presentation, and we will talk to you soon. Have a great day, everybody.